we'd like to acknowledge that this podcast is being performed on the Toronto traditional lands of the Haudenosaunee, the Anishinaabeg, the Huron-Wendat, and the Mississaugas of the Credit.
And we'd also like to acknowledge that this podcast is being filmed on the traditional Miami lands of the Tequesta peoples and the Miccosukee peoples. We highly encourage you to check out and learn more about these Indigenous groups. They're fascinating. Thank you very much and enjoy the podcast. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the latest episode of Cross Continent Chats podcast. I'm your host, Rachel Bishop, joined by my friend and colleague, Charlie Wayman. He's in Miami, Florida. I'm in Toronto, Canada. Let's get started today. So first question, a bit of a serious note here. We saw the NFL come back, and we saw that the NFL embraced what they did not embrace 4 years ago when Colin Kaepernick started his protests. We saw them play both the anthem and the Black national anthem before the game. So what are your thoughts on playing both anthems, and what do you think that the NFL and other North American pro leagues should do moving forward with regards to racial inequality, equality, and injustice?
Well, I want to start with a little bit of backstory towards the Black national anthem. This is a song that's been around since the early 1900s, and it was actually adopted by the NAACP. NAACP meaning National American Association of Colored Persons, as the official Black national anthem in 1919. So this isn't some song that they just came out of nowhere. This has actually been their anthem via the NAACP since 1919. So over 101 years. So I saw it coming, to be honest, to be playing the Black national anthem. The NFL did say that it was only going to be week one that they're going to play this. But I was prepared to hear it every single weekend, to be honest. But in all honesty, and I know a lot of people are not going to be happy with me, but in all honesty, they need to take away out of any sport in North America, national anthems need to go. The national anthem has created a controversy. It has created division. It has created really racial injustice, and that's what it's caused. You know, yes, Colin Kaepernick did his right to protest, which is an American right to protest, and people were upset by it. People thought he was disrespecting the flag, even though that's not what he meant. You know, people disrespected the flag. People believe that. He believed that, but really, that's all this has caused. Who knew that 4 years ago? Who knew that playing the national anthem which should be something to unite people in the United States, in this amazing country? You would think something that should be uniting people in song, nonetheless, ends up being. And that's why they need to cut this out of the game. You go to Europe, you watch soccer. Liverpool, they don't play match. They don't think that even though this should be uniting people through song, as showing nationalism and pride for the United States and this great country, the anthem has caused controversy. The anthem has caused racial injustice. The anthem has caused division in this country, not unification. And honestly, it's time to get rid of it. You go to Europe, you go to England, they don't play God Save the Queen every match. They don't. Honestly, it's not necessary. I know that people say it's part of the game in North America and everything else, but it's not necessary. In international matches in soccer, they play God Save the Queen. They'll play whatever the anthem of the teams are. That's great. That's fine because it's the national team. But honestly, if you have a sports game that starts at 6:30 in the evening, in reality, it starts at 6:45, 7 o'clock, which drives me personally crazy, especially when the only people that are standing and putting their hands on their hearts and actually doing what you're supposed to do for the national anthem are the ones in the stadium. Everybody's at home, getting a beer, talking to people, going to the bathroom. It's not something that every American in their living room is doing actively. I do it. I go get a beer because it's just the anthem. And that's where leave the anthem out of it, because the anthem, honestly, will be more special if you don't play it all the time. And it's caused division. You can't have 50,000 anthems, and I'm talking after, not just the Black anthem, but who knows, maybe there'll be a Native Americans will want a part of that too, or the Latinos want a part of that too. So honestly, just get rid of the anthem. It's not necessary in the sports game. So yeah, you want to unite this country, do not play the anthem at the game, because the anthem right now is just causing division.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And not that it causes division. It's also, as you said, it just wastes time. Like, just start the game on time. Like, you don't need to do it before the game. It achieves nothing. And basically, no one, as you said, no one at home actually pays attention to it. Obviously, after the game internationally, as you said, like for Olympics and those tournaments, that makes sense because it's an international event. But the Toronto Raptors playing in a playoff game, their game 7 started 20 minutes late. That's just ridiculous. You don't need to waste 20 minutes on the anthem and pregame ceremonies and all that stuff. So I totally agree with you.
Yeah, and the thing is, the way to do it is you can't just say, oh, it's a waste of time. You can't. You got to look at the folks, because there are people, especially in the United States, that love this anthem, and they're proud, and they're nationalists, and they're damn proud to be American, as they should be. But look at what has gone on, all because one football player took a knee. Look at it. We've had racial injustice. We've had police brutality. We've had all this protest. The President of the United States really just been a catalyst for all of this, all because one guy took a knee. For the right reasons, obviously, and something that needed to be done. But all this anthem is doing is tearing us apart, and instead of what it should be doing, which is uniting us under the flag, under the stars and stripes.
But it's also a waste of time.
I've said that before, but you have to understand, because you're not American, you have to understand, when you grow up here, you live here, you hear it every day. You hear it at school. You do the Pledge of Allegiance every day in elementary school. It's important. To me, it's important. So,
hey, I know the Pledge of Allegiance by heart.
But you also have to see, there's just special times to play that anthem. Because if you just do it every time, it just loses its luster, in my opinion.
Hey, as someone who went to school growing up, and every single day in the morning we had the Canadian National Anthem every single day from kindergarten through grade 12, I've heard enough anthems in my lifetime. I could do without it for sporting events. Maybe that just goes with what you said. I heard it too much, and it came to the point where I was walking down the hallway during class to get to my class because I didn't want to be late because the anthem when the anthem was playing. So maybe that's what you said.
Yeah, and it's just, especially in comparison to Canada, the United States is definitely a lot more serious about this kind of stuff.
Yes.
But yeah, I agree that I would love for games to start on time, because it drives me crazy every time, especially when I watch English soccer and they start right on the dot.
Yes. Yes.
I have to also look at it from the American perspective, and I'm damn proud to be an American myself, but you can leave it out. you really can leave it out because like I said, it's just caused turmoil.
Yeah, and the UK is a very patriotic country, and they don't do that. So just because you don't do it doesn't make you any less patriotic. So. All right, well, I think we're in agreement on that. So with that, we're going to the next segment, which is sports spectacles, where Charlie previews his upcoming games for the week.
All right, so with sports this week, of course, this coming weekend and upcoming next weekend, the NFL is back. There's a lot of really exciting teams to check out. Definitely a team to check out is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, simply because they have Tom Brady, they have Rob Gronkowski, who's probably going to get hurt in week 3, but Rob Gronkowski, you also have an amazing star receiver in Mike Evans, you also have Chris Goodwin, and then your starting running back is Leonard Fournette. Yes, Leonard Fournette left the Jacksonville Jaguars, and he came to come play and be Tom Brady's running back. That team's going to be exciting. Definitely check out the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Another team you want to check out, and I know I might sound biased for this, but another team that analysts are actually looking at as an in-the-hunt team, the Miami Dolphins. The way the Miami Dolphins played in the second half of the season was absolutely stunning. They won like 5 of the last 9 games, so 5-4, which is pretty good for a team that was bare bones and had nothing. And they were against good teams. So if you think of it that way, they're playing well and they're winning against good teams with creativity, youth, and just simple sheer willpower. And this season, they've had a great offseason. They have their quarterback of the future in Tua Tagovailoa. I think it's great that Ryan Fitzpatrick is starting, because Tua really needs to make sure that hip is working properly for him to then take over the reins of the team. But also, they're going to be competitive. They're going to be an interesting team. So definitely, I know it's weird, and I know everybody hates the Dolphins in the NFL, but actually check out the Dolphins because they should actually be an entertaining team to watch as well. So definitely check that out. Then going into NBA, we have an amazing Eastern Conference final. We have my Miami Heat, and we have Rachel's Toronto Raptors. Oh, wait, no, sorry, the Boston Celtics. Because the Raptors just lost Game 7, which I wanted just to win, but I kind of expected it. So the Miami Heat and the Boston Celtics, I think that's going to hit 7 games. That is the battle of the 2 most interesting teams in the Eastern Conference, I will say. And let's see if Miami, or probably the Boston Celtics, I'll be honest here, probably the Boston Celtics will make it to the final, and that will kind of conclude my theory that it's going to be Lakers and Celtics in the final at the year of Kobe Bryant passing away. I have a theory about that. But definitely check out that matchup. I think that matchup will be more interesting than the potential LA Lakers and LA Clippers Western Conference matchup, because everybody saw it coming. Kawhi Leonard, Battle of LA, Kawhi Leonard and LeBron James. Let's see what they can do. Miami Heat, Boston Celtics. And those are my sports spectacles for the week.
Thank you. I'm very much looking forward to those matchups. I'm definitely bitter about the Raptors, but as you just said, I'm not surprised that they lost, to be honest. I did kind of expect it, especially how badly Siakam played these playoffs, and he hasn't shown that he really is a superstar yet. And it really does show that Kawhi was most of the team last year. So I'm not that surprised they lost, but
yeah, but he's not. I don't think he's not the player that's the guy in the NBA.
I don't think so.
He needs another star player. He's a great player, but he's not a superstar.
I agree.
A star, but not a superstar. Toronto needs a star scoring player.
Giannis.
I would say John Wall, because everybody knows after he got whooped by the Miami Heat, Giannis is coming to South Beach. He's taking his talents there.
Actually, the Toronto Raptors are right up there with the Miami Heat for the team to get him. So
yeah, but now the Toronto Raptors just horribly lost to Boston. So
they're still a favorite to get Giannis.
Who's still in it? The Miami Heat.
That
So,
doesn't matter. It's still favorite to get Giannis.
Yeah.
Anyways.
not going to go somewhere cold. Anyway,
Okay.
that's
We'll discuss this. We have a whole year to discuss this. So
That's
we'll move on
the
now.
podcast. That was a previous podcast.
We're gonna move on now to the next question, and this is more fun. We're going away from the political stuff here. Sticking on the NFL though, since the NFL season has returned, and you've already mentioned this team, but I really want to know this. This debate has been being talked about a lot in the American media, especially ESPN. I really want to know, who do you think will have a better season? Tom Brady with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers reunited with his old buddy Rob Gronkowski out of retirement, or Cam Newton newly signed to the New England Patriots with Bill Belichick?
That's tough. That's tough because you have the greatest quarterback of all time on a nice Tampa offense, but you also have who's 43, 44 years old. And you also have an absolute monster of a player playing for one of the best coaches of all time. I'm going to say Tom Brady. I know, Tom Brady. I don't like Tom Brady, folks. I'm going to say Tom Brady. The reason why is, not because he's old, not because he was the greatest of all time, that he's got 6 rings with New England. I think he's going to be the best simply because of his weapons around him. Yeah, I know New England has an ability to turn nobodies into star players, Julian Edelman, but Cam Newton only has Julian Edelman. And Keel Harry, maybe if he actually shows up this season. He didn't do that well in his rookie season. He wasn't really, in my opinion, very effective. I think Tom Brady has a great receiver in Chris Goodwin. He's got an absolute monster receiver who, with quarterbacks that are not Tom Brady level, he's still getting at least 1,000 to 1,200 yards a season, and that is Mike Evans. He's one of my favorite receivers in the NFL. He can absolutely explode with Tom Brady. Of course, Rob Gronkowski, but let's see if he survives after week 3 because he's the most injury-prone tight end in the NFL. And also he has a running back option in Leonard Fournette. Leonard Fournette is a very strong runner. He also does have somewhat of an ability to catch the ball. So he's a runner. He's a running back who can take the ball and he can power through people, but he also can catch. So I really think Tom Brady's going to have the edge this season because he clearly just has proven weapons on his side.
So do you think then if Tom Brady has a better season, do you think that this really settles the debate of who's better, Belichick or Brady? Or do you think that will continue? Because people are saying now if Brady has a better season, that means it was Brady that made the team good and not Belichick, and vice versa.
I think a lot of it is Tom Brady, but you also have to give credit to Belichick because Belichick got Cam Newton. And Cam Newton is one of the best, in my opinion, one of the best quarterbacks in this league. He's obviously had a hard time in Carolina, but the man can run, something that Bill Belichick has never had with Tom Brady. He's an actually running quarterback that can actually get out of the pocket and make a play when he needs to. He can scramble. He's also huge, so he can take a hit, and he can throw the ball like a cannon arm. He's really one of the pioneer quarterbacks in the NFL to be a running quarterback. He's one of the pioneer guys to do it. And I really think Belichick's the guy to revive his career because Belichick is no nonsense. But I don't really think that debate, I really don't think that debate makes it. I think it'll continue, to be honest.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if Tom Brady has it. Bill Belichick's still a great coach. You can tell in the way he looks at his players. You can tell in the way that in New England goes in the draft. You can tell that he's just got a specific system in mind, and he gets players that work for his system, not necessarily their overall talent. So that's what I think.
So you think it's really hard to say at this point? You think that it's going to continue forever, this discussion?
Well, I think Bill Belichick's going to go in the Hall of Fame and Tom Brady's going to go in the Hall of Fame, and that's it.
So you think they're probably both equally as good? Do you think they both probably make each other better?
Well, they were a match made in heaven, but that's pretty much it.
Until Tom Brady left.
Yeah, but to be honest, I haven't really heard much of an actual debate at all, whether who's better, Brady or Belichick. I think that's just a new thing because he's left.
I saw it on ESPN First Take when it happened last year.
Yeah,
Earlier this year.
It's happening just because Tom Brady left. I think
that's it.
I haven't really heard it as a long-standing thing.
No.
But it doesn't matter because they're both going to the Hall of Fame. So I think, in my opinion, they've kind of both of them have proven themselves to be, well, Tom Brady's the greatest. He is the greatest quarterback of all time. As a Dolphins fan, it pains me to say it. Belichick is the arguably, well, actually, by the time he retires, he will probably be the greatest coach of all time, beating the Miami Dolphins' Don Shula. So that just hurts me even more. But yeah.
You must be excited not to have to face Tom Brady all the time since you're not in the same division as him anymore.
Yeah, that's definitely a nice thing, but also now I have to deal with Cam Newton twice a year. So, I guess that's a nice change, but we'll see what Cam Newton does. I think he's got different Newton this season.
So you think that the Buccaneers are favorites more for the Super Bowl than the Patriots?
I don't know about a Super Bowl favorite. A playoff team for sure, but I don't think a Super Bowl favorite.
No? You don't think either one's a Super Bowl favorite?
Not really, no.
Okay. You still think it's Kansas City?
Well, definitely a Super Bowl favorite team is the Kansas City Chiefs. Another Super Bowl favorite is the New Orleans Saints. Those teams to me are, really Super Bowl favorites. And the other Super Bowl favorites team that I have to admit, and I'm a big fan of him, is the Baltimore Ravens. That's another Super Bowl favorite team with Lamar Jackson at the helm. That kid is a special guy.
Okay, well, that would be interesting to watch. I know there's a Canadian player who actually won the Super Bowl with Kansas City last season, Quebecois doctor. He was studying at medical school, but he actually opted out of the season to do courses online. So that would be interesting. Laurent Duvernay-Tardif, I think. He was a starter. So I don't know how they'll recover from that.
He was one of their starting linesmen. Yes.
So hopefully they can recover from that loss of him sitting out this year.
The way they looked against the Houston Texans, they're fine.
All right. Well, it's cool he won the Super Bowl as a Canadian though, because that doesn't happen very often. All right. Well, once again, we didn't even use up our full time, so that's good. We're on the right track so far today. So I guess now I'm going to go into my segment here, Marketplace, where I discuss transfers and trades and stuff. I'll probably just stick to some sports I know, and if there's anything NFL, you can jump in with those trades if you want, Charlie, or any other sport like that. Oh, the first thing that I saw, and this really bothers me, because once again, David Beckham is at it again. It looks like Inter Miami is going to get Gonzalo Higuain, which really pisses me off because they're basically Higuain from formerly the AC Milan, because they're basically getting everybody. He hasn't officially signed yet, but he's arrived in Miami, and it looks like he will sign there. And Goal.com thinks that he can really be star and kind of revive his career and kind of tear it up the way that David Villa did at the end of his career with New York City FC, and some other players who've signed recently, like Kaká was another one. So that really bothers me.
Well, also, Gonzalo Higuain and Blaise Matuidi are former teammates at Juve. So
okay,
it's
there you go.
Nice that as well. So it's definitely good because they needed a star striker because their strikers are too young.
Yes, they're number 9. He's joining as the third designated player. So in MLS, you're allowed 3 players you can play that don't count against the salary cap. And so he's the third one. And I find that quite funny. It's David Beckham's team because David Beckham was the person that had the designated player rule in place in MLS. They made it for him. So I found that kind of funny.
Yeah, but how is he he's their designated player on Miami? Who are the other ones? Because Matuidi signed a cheap contract. He didn't actually get player status.
The other ones are it doesn't say, it just says third designated player on goal.com. So I'll have to find that out for you.
Yeah, because I believe Matuidi didn't get designated player because he signed a cheap deal.
Oh, that's interesting. Maybe he did that so they could sign Higuain then.
Hey, I'll take it. I've actually been a fan of Higuain since I was younger, so I'm actually very excited to see him light it up for Inter Miami.
And he's an Argentine, so he's very good at soccer.
Well, and of course he's going to go to this one because Miami's a Latin city, and there's lots of Argentines in Latin.
Okay, well, enough of Charlie bragging. I'm gonna move on now. Sticking with soccer, but a different soccer player. This is quite interesting. It's another superstar, but it's an American superstar on the women's side. Alex Morgan has signed a one-year deal with Tottenham in the Women's Super League. We've talked about this league a lot recently, and that's very interesting because she joins her Canadian teammate, Shalina Zadorsky, who's on loan there for the rest of the season. They're teammates on Orlando Pride and NWSL, as well as another teammate. And we've now seen in the past 2 weeks about 4 American superstars leave the North American Soccer League to go play for Europe. We saw 2 go to Manchester United, 2 go to Manchester City, and now Alex Morgan, who's arguably the best women's player in the world, who just had a baby named Charlie, by the way, full name, which is a weird full name, but anyway, joined Tottenham. So I don't know what this means for NSLW, but basically it's going to be Christine Sinclair and nobody else, because all the superstars are leaving to go to Europe, and we're seeing a lot of Canadian players sign out of college in Europe and not even go to the National Women's Soccer League draft. So that's good for them because they're getting the exposure against the best, because all the best players are now playing in Europe. So they're getting exposure against the best players, and they all have partnerships with the men's team, right? So they have access, like Tottenham will have access to the Tottenham training facilities and whatnot. Same thing with Arsenal and Man City and whatever. So I just thought that was interesting that Alex Morgan, after basically playing her whole professional career in Orlando for the Orlando Pride, which has a partnership with Orlando City FC and SC and MLS, decides to leave and go to Tottenham. So she should tear it up there because she's fantastic. So that will be interesting to watch for that signing as well. And in terms of, it's not really like a marketplace type thing, but we were talking about, we were just discussing off the air about awards, and the NHL has already announced some of their award winners. They're not having a ceremony this year, and somehow Lula Morello won GM of the Year, which makes absolutely no sense because he did nothing, and it should have been a Tampa Bay GM. But of course, all the old hockey guys are voting for Lula Morello. So good for him, I guess. But he really didn't do much in terms of the way of signings instead of signing Semyon Varlamov. So that was just something that I thought that was weird that happened in terms of hockey. Not really much else. Matt Murray's still probably going to get traded. Edmonton looks like that's a good fit for him. But apparently the price was too high. Pittsburgh wanted a first-round pick, and Edmonton said, no way, you're uncracked in Rutherford. So he's still a Penguin for now. Edmonton wants him, but because they need goaltending, obviously, because their goaltenders are not good enough, but they don't want to pay for a first-round pick for Matt Murray. Frederik Andersen could get moved from the Leafs as well. So really it's going to be an interesting offseason for the NHL. Of course, the teams that are out are free to make trades. So, and then free agency starts in October. So that will be weird to have free agency in the fall, but should be interesting to watch. So that's really that I have for the marketplace this week, unless you have anything you had about NFL. All right. So that's it for that segment. So now moving on to our final segment, which is trivia. Once again, Charlie is in the hot seat. I will be asking him some different sports-tastic questions, shall we say. Once again, they're from different sports. Ending off, of course, with my pop culture and sports, because, I have to have that. Oh. And I even have an MLB question in here for the first time, so that will be interesting. So the first question I have for you is, now you should know this because it's related to Miami Heat. Which NBA personality actually owns the term three-peat from a copyright standpoint?
Which NBA personality?
Yeah, like he's an NBA executive.
Pat Riley.
Yes.
He said he's the top executive. So,
Do you know how he got that copyright?
Because he thought the Heat were going to three-peat, and they didn't?
No, it happened in the 90s, in 1988. Actually, one of his players, when he was coaching the Chicago Bulls, said that, and he decided to patent it. And allegedly, he earned $300,000 in royalties when the Bulls three-peated in the 90s.
Oh, nice.
So he made bank off the term three-peat, which I thought was quite funny because I didn't even know you could patent that, but I guess you can if he came up with it. So moving on now to the baseball question. I said we don't talk about MLB, so I thought it'd be fun to be a baseball question. Which is the oldest? Yeah, but you should know this. It's pretty easy, I think. What is the oldest professional baseball team in existence, and what was the original name, and when was the team founded? So when was the team founded, and what was the original name, and what is the team?
The oldest professional baseball team
In existence, yeah.
ever of all time.
Yeah.
The New York Yankees?
Incorrect. It's the Cincinnati Reds.
Oh, okay.
They were founded in 1866, but they became professional in 1869 as the first professional baseball team, and the original name was the Red Stockings. Cincinnati Red Stockings.
Okay.
Had to throw the for my mother, a little shout out for her.
Right, Ohio. All right.
Not just Ohio, she's from Cincinnati. She's from baseball town. Kids actually miss school to go to opening day in Cincinnati, just so you know. Moving on now to some NHL. Who has the most career points of any American-born NHL player?
Career points, I don't know, Bobby Hall?
He's actually Canadian.
Yeah, didn't he play for the U.S., though?
No, you're thinking of Brett Hall. So you are right. It's Brett Hall. Bobby Hall's his dad, and he's Canadian. He played for Canada.
Okay. I didn't get it. I was thinking in the right direction.
You were thinking Brett Hall. We'll give it to you. He has 1,391 points.
Nice.
So yeah, Brett Hall is actually Canadian, people, but Canada didn't put him on one team. Spurn Canada competed for the U.S. because he got dual citizenship for playing for St. Louis Blues, hence the Americanism. But he's the son of Bobby Hall, who's, of course, a legend. So moving on now to the second last question, the penultimate question, if you will. Some soccer trivia for you. This is pretty easy. I think you should get this. It's real easy. The American national soccer team failed to qualify for the 2018 World Cup after losing to which country?
Trinidad.
Quite embarrassing, but at least they've qualified. Unlike Canada, it's only been in one World Cup, so.
They will qualify.
Canada will, because we're hosting in 2026, yes.
Yeah, but the next one isn't in 2026.
I know, it's 2022.
Which is Qatar.
That's right, which is going to be a disaster. But anyways.
It's going to be environmentally unfriendly World Cup in history.
It's also been very bad from a human rights standpoint in terms of the conditions of the workers and whatnot. But
Islamic State, different people, different culture.
No, but I think a lot of that is FIFA. But anyways, we don't want to get into too much into that rabbit hole. That's a different topic altogether. Now, final trivia for you. Again, saving the most fun question for last. The pop culture meets sports trivia question. Now, you really like this one because you like poetry. So no, I don't know if you know this, but I'm hoping that you get it. I know you like poetry. So which NFL team was inspired by a famous poet? Like their name, their team name.
I have no idea. The New England Patriots.
The Baltimore Ravens.
Don't tell me they did after the Edgar Allan Poe.
They did.
Why?
They got their name from Edgar Allan Poe's poem *The Raven*, and their three mascots' names are Edgar, Allan, and Poe.
Does he even have a relation to Baltimore?
I don't know. I just thought that was cool.
Wow. Okay, I did not expect.
I thought you might know that one.
I did not know that. Didn't think that they would name an NFL team after like he's brilliant, but one of the darkest poets of all time. But
he was very dark. The Raven, I remember reading in grade 10. It's very dark. Well, that is it for the latest episode of the podcast. Charlie did pretty well. He got two out of 5 questions, so it's not too bad. So once again, I've been Rachael Bishop in Toronto, Ontario, joined by Charlie Wayman in Miami, Florida, and we'll see you for the next episode.